So let's start the first discussion panel of the technical session. The second discussion panel will be at the end in the afternoon and will focus on the wave one. In this first discussion panel, we asked the question, how is the T2S community preparing? And as Holger said earlier, we're focusing on the German and the French markets. The purpose is basically to have, as I have said earlier, more. Let's say it is less and less the case for the ECB and the 4CB to say where we stand in delivering T2S, as T2S user testing is starting now. It is really now the turn for CSDs and NCBs. I have distinguished speakers with me in this panel. Thank you for accepting the invitation. Andreas Werchan from Deutsche Bundesbank, Karla Amend from Clearstream, Alain Loyer from Banque de France, Dimitri Pattyn from Euroclear France, and Corinne Audrain from Societe Generale. You, Corinne, you're both as a DCP, both in the German market and in the French market. So we have agreed with the panelists that they will provide a very short presentation between 5 and 7 minutes. I would invite you to make any question after each of the presentations. I would really encourage you, because this is really a session for the users of the CSDs and the NCBs. In this audience, I looked into the list of participants. We don't have all that many users as probably I would have liked. I hope also that it's also not easy for everybody to come to Frankfurt, so that's why we have the webcast, and it's possible to send us questions by Twitter. So perhaps before, just to provoke a bit in starting the panel, I'll read a discussion we had at the T2S advisory group of last week on the readiness of CSD and NCB clients. It says the T2S advisory group shared the assessment that there is not always sufficient awareness by the clients of the CSDs and NCBs, and also for the clients of the clients, so further down the chain, on what will change after migration to T2S and what has to be done on their side. There was also consensus that the responsibility lies with each CSD and NCB to ensure that their clients do not put at risk their own successful migration to T2S. So that's basically what the presentations will verse upon. I think they answer two basic questions: where do you stand in your user testing preparations, and how are you ensuring your client readiness? So we've agreed that we will follow the order, the alphabetical order of the last name, which it's a very objective criteria, but I do agree that one of these days we should follow the inverse order of the last names. But that will be for the next time. So Karla.
Thank you. Ignacio, thank you for introducing. So my name is Karla Amend. I'm the T2S project manager for Clearstream Banking and for Lux CSD, the Clearstream group overall. And I was really wondering when I get the invitation from Nacho to participate on the panel here, when I thought, my God, now when I start in 2006 with the first years, already now a lot of time now, really it should be on the panel for testing and readiness. So it's really now getting in the last final stage and before we migrate now. So let's start. And so now it looks like, as you're asking, or there has been asked in the last HG meeting, just looking how get the market be ready and how had Clearstream prepared these major implementation of target to security is. That we already start defining or asking our customers define a single point of contact already in 2013. which we did, and already the customers have been directly involved since from this point of time onwards. In addition, what we had a second corner, so to say, is that we had implemented since last year already intensive task force meeting workshops on specific items and define together with the customers the adaptation and the requirements to adapt to target to security with Clearstream as smooth as possible. In addition, of course, customer events has been taken, let's say, complemented by webinars, workshops, roadshows, and of course all the different communication channels Clearstream is offering. And this is complemented, let's say, by an active monitoring by our client readiness managers, which are, let's say, using our databases and have an active and bilateral contact to the customers in order to make sure that the organization perspectives, the connectivity perspective, the training perspective, and the customer simulation has been tackled so far, and it's been tackled so far and could be provided as a status. Maybe I've almost a little bit too fast based on the time constraints, and I would like I've forgotten on the first page to mention that, of course, this is complemented with the distribution of the detailed functional description, where clear planning or release planning is already provided, so that the customers and all customers can ensure and use this documentations for their specifications and starting their internal projects accordingly. This being said, let's say jumping over to the implementation of target to security for so far. We had agreed with our customers and the Clearstream group as well to already start as early as possible with the adaptation to target to security. And therefore, we already had, let's say, implemented the first release in March this year. The second one will come up in November this year, where the connectivity channels already will be available with the T2S relevant fields and services on U2A as well on the GUI or the Cascade old-fashioned 3272 screens, which everyone loves on the German market. But nevertheless, of course, coming later on in the future, we will offering as well a new one-stop Clearstream connectivity channel with all the comprehensive services provided. And of course, the second part is the migration to start as early as possible as well, so that we will be acting on the wave 1 already with implementing the static data and based on the volumes, which is the most challenge, of course, with the German market and the business together with the Eurosystem to migrate even the security data to target to security, which we will do in 3 steps. Otherwise, there are some challenges in order to get it done in 1 step. And then, of course, followed by the third wave on the big migration step for the German market or for Clearstream to participate in target to security. This being said, followed by our internal status, so far we are well advanced. And let's say the system development part is nearly finalized. We already started this month with the end-to-end testing of the core applications in Clearstream overall. And therefore, of course, the readiness for starting the testing, which is probably going on the 1st of October this year. We are well equipped, and the test modeling operability test is nearly finalized, so 80% achieved, and even the customer configurations and data already, let's say, so prepared that we can start up the testing. The most challenge is now that the testing systems is available, and we can, and the Eurosystem is orchestra all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Karla. Thank you very much for the Agile presentation. Do we have any questions for Karla? No? Okay, then I turn to Corinne.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Corinne Audrain. I've been working on T2S at Societe Generale Securities Services for 3 years. I am personally a change review group member, and internally I have in charge the coordination of the participants of all the groups of the T2S governance, such as the advisory group, the harmonization steering groups, and the market practices. And I'm very happy to have the opportunity to share with you some key points of our preparation to the user testing. This short presentation is focused on two points: facing challenges in order to be ready for the T2S user testing, relying on our T2S program on a two-level structure, global and local. Since SGSS is present and involved in the 4 wave of migration, we have set up a T2S program based on 2 levels, global and local. The global level is to best fit to the ECB T2S governance with the participants in the various groups, and to deal with global topics. But we also have local projects to deal with local impacts based on the current relationships with the CSDs and the NCBs. The objective of this program is to be ready to be connected via a direct connected participant to the T2S platform via a network service provider. Of course, this program has a lot of interactions with that we call external parties, the ECB project, the NCBs project, the CSDs project, and also with our network of sub-custodians of the T2S zone. And finally, this program has to deal with the local market project related to T2S. The 2 mains are the corporate action standard implementation and the T+2 settlement cycle. Coming back to this program, we have defined several transversal streams, and I want to draw your attention on the change management stream, because a key success factor is that all the stakeholders are ready for the start of T2S. So this stream deal with the training of the operational teams, but before the training to the new concepts brought by T2S. And it's very important. And also this stream handled prepare the communication for the clients and for the operational teams. But coming back to the topic today, the user testing and migration stream deals with the analysis of the documentation provided by the ECB project and the NCBs and CSDs. And people who work in this stream participate in the local working groups. The objective, of course, is to have a very detailed user testing plan. And what? Sorry. Go back. Yes. No, it's okay. So focusing on the user testing and migration stream, we have identified main challenges. Some of them are first to fine-tune the preparation step before going into the execution step of the user testing. It is important to have the static data defined as similar as possible to the live or production setup. And also, we think it's important to have the testing plan detailed by sequences. For example, a cash side and security side in parallel. That's possible, for example, for liquidity transfer and for free of payment instruction. And then to test linked instructions and reports, and then test the link between T2S and T2. That's the main points. Secondly, we identified a challenge that is to upgrade our internal test environment, because today on ISIS market, for example, we use one test environment on a live configuration. And with T2S, we will have to deal with two test environments simultaneously. Finally, we rely on our experience on both sides, cash side and security side. Cash side, since Societe Generale is a payment bank participant in Target 2 since the beginning, we have this great experience of a great project over several markets, several zones. And on security side, we have the experience with the ISIS project on a multi-CSD approach. The third point is that we take the migration wave by wave, meaning that the experience within the first wave preparation of the user testing will be used and brought to the following waves. And basically, we rely on the CSDs and NCBs to prepare this phase and to monitor it. So thank you for attention, and I'm ready to take your questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Corinne? I will basically come with questions at the end, but of course my questions, in a way, we have rehearsed and they know them. If you want to catch them by surprise, you have to ask questions. You have to ask questions yourself.
Thank you. My name is Alain Loyer. I'm a project manager from Banque de France and coordinate the Banque de France activities for the migration to T2S. My presentation will have three parts. The first part is our status. The second part is the challenge for us. And the last one is the operational readiness on our side. In terms of status, Banque de France will be a DCP for the cash and collateral aspects, and we will be ICP for the settlement activities. It will be their own settlement activities. On our side, we are going to migrate to T2S as soon as wave 1. We will act as the bank of bank to manage the system entities, also to manage the collateral management, and to be Target 2 system owner. We will have 3 participants with us. We will be also fully involved for the wave 2. We are going to act the same role like the wave 1, plus the role of settlement agents with Euroclear France. And we will have 105 participants with us. For the other waves, we are going to act with the other actor. It will depend of the French participants who will act to the wave 3 and wave 4 participants. Regarding our status, we are pilot testing, and now we have finished the connectivity test on the pilot environment, and we are already connected technically to T2S, and we are ready to start the pilot testing next week. We are on track for internal testing phase for bilateral, multilateral migration, and so on. And we are already prepared for bilateral testing in October. In terms of progress, we will remain some development and test regarding the auto-collateralization, but we will be ready at the latest for the bilateral testing. And also, we are on track for the external testing phase for Wave 1. The Wave 1 will start in March 2015. It is the start of the communities, but we are obliged to be ready 3 months before, as said Dimitri later, in order to start the connectivities, to feed the static data and so on. And also, we are ready for the Wave 2. Regarding the challenge of the user testing for us, first of all, with T2S, BDF will become directly in charge of the cash management account. It's not the case at the moment with this. The other challenge is to accompany our participants to be ready on time for testing and production. It means we are already organized some workshops with our participants. We have published a blueprint in French and English version. We have also some bilateral meeting with our participants, and we've published some documentation of our website. Other challenge is to monitor the participants, to help them to register to the van provider, to be ready for the connectivity, to feed the static data, also for us to feed static data for our customers, and also to monitor them for the certification and the authorization test. And we would like to also ensure the same level of services for auto-collateralization purpose between ISIS and the T2S for the French participants. In terms of readiness of operational team, on the cash side, the operational team in Banque de France will be involved in the whole testing phase for T2S. It means it will be up to our operational team on the cash side to execute the testing phase during the bilateral, multilateral, and also multilateral, with some support of the other team, but it will be this team will have the leadership on this. As from community, all the operational team will be involved in order to bring the right support to our customer and also to be ready to support and to monitor the place. And according to the fact we are going to launch our system in Wave 1 with little participants, we are going to mitigate the risk for the Wave 2 in order to be fully ready for this wave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alain. Questions for Alain? Okay, let's turn then to Euroclear's presentation from Dimitri.
Okay, good morning. My name is Dimitri Pattyn, and if I'm not, well, not standing but sitting in front of you, it's because I'm taking care actually of the readiness on the easy side, both internally and also on the market side. Well, this is my first slide actually. What I wanted to show or to express is that more than any other actor in T2S, the CSDs are very, very much impacted by T2S. So this actually, I could not resist using this slide. It was actually one that was used already in 2011 for those who were there already in a conference in the airport here in Frankfurt. It was by Tim Howell, so not my boss, but the boss of my boss of my boss of my boss. So I'm safe. Actually, I can use it. But what he wanted to express there was that, well, if not breaking the CSDs, T2S will inevitably shake the CSDs, that's for sure. And of course, he was thinking more in terms of business model, ability to generate new revenue sources, strategic alignment, and things like that. But I found it was also relevant when we talk about, well, when we start figuring out how do we adapt to T2S, it's shaking the systems. Now, more seriously, actually, this drawing was also for me quite nice to use because, well, when you see settlement as one of the functions operated by the CSDs, if I can use an analogy, it's a bit like pulling out the engine of a car while it's running and hoping that the people sitting in the car will not notice it. So it's a bit like that. I mean, and even the small bullets at the border of the CSD is a new component in the CSD. So it's really implying a strong or a heavy reshaping of our systems and infrastructure. And if I can put, well, if I put the analogy a bit further, I could even say that it's worse than that because it's not one CSD putting the engine out of the car, it's a highway full of CSDs putting each CSD aside the engine out of their own car and actually hoping that none of them will fail or will start impacting the other. So no crash on the highway. So it's a challenge. I think it's unprecedented as an undertaking. So it's really something that is well, interesting to experience actually. So it's quite a significant effort on the CSD side. I don't know. Okay. Voilà. So now digging into more the question of where are we and what would be the challenges. I just wanted to share with you today that well, on the easy side, we have split the program because there is a program in place in two main streams. One is the IT delivery. As I said, it's quite significant in terms of workload, constraints on roadmaps and so on. And the second would be actually my third slide, is the ISIS readiness. So one stream is IT delivery, the other one is ISIS readiness. On the IT delivery, one of the main concerns was how do we secure the delivery? How do we make sure that we are there on time? And one of the structuring element was that we said we need to split it in 3 releases, not 1 but 3 releases. I understand other CSDs applied, not all of them, but some of them applied the same recipe. So the release 1 is mainly the one that will be there to support our role of SME. So as from the start of wave 1, we need to be there with the connectivity to feed the securities data into the system. Well, actually that release is there. It's so true that it will even be launched in production in November this year. So in production, not in testing, but real life. The release 2 is actually gathering all the elements that are required to start testing in October. There I would say the platform or that release is almost there. We have completed more than 90%, I don't have the exact figure, but more than 90% of the test cases. So far it looks very good. Actually, we have a fail rate that is lower than 4%. And we have still 3 months left to complete the work. So the release 2 will be there. And what is important to notice is that with that release, we are able to cover the full span of functions offered by T2S. So that was really one of the main objectives. So the 2 first releases will be there by October this year. The third release will come a bit later. There we have a staggered approach. So we have split it in 3 streams. One is, basically the release 3 is all internal functions within ISIS. And we have split the delivery in 3 steps. One is what do we need to secure the acceptance of T2S. The second one is what do we need to start the multilateral interoperability. So what do we need to have to make sure that when we test with other CSDs and central banks, we can cover the full scope. And the third one is for the users, for the community testing. It will come a bit later. So that's more or less where we are. Well, in terms of challenges, because that's what we are here for, well, I spotted 3 of them. I'm pretty sure my colleagues will find others. But one main challenge for me, and it brings us back to the idea of the highway with plenty of cars running in parallel. We need to preserve the efficiency of testing. We have quite a limited infrastructure, limited time. And we are actually in a context where there will be many interdependent actors testing at the same time, but having different objectives. So some will want to be there by wave 1, others wave 2, and others wave 3. So we are all on the same highway, but we are running at different pace, actually. So that will be, I think, really a big challenge. It will be to preserve the efficiency of testing during the months between October 14 and I would say even till end of 16 or February 17. The second, well, interesting challenge will be the defect and the deployment management. Defect management, well, mainly because the chain can be long between one testing entity, so a CSD or a central bank, claiming that one test case failed. And the chain can be long between that statement and the identification of the defects. There are many actors. The governance is quite a long chain. So defect management will be a challenge, I think, in the coming months. And the same holds for deployment management, actually. When some entities will want to deploy early, others will be in the middle of test cycles and so on. So that will require quite a strong governance and a decision-making process. The third one is more related to the migration. We know that migration is quite a demanding exercise. It's not something that you test over a day. In general, it's a long, well, the migration itself has to happen over a weekend, but the testing lasts for much longer. And there, basically, when we look into the waves, we have quite a limited number of rehearsals possible. So there we need to be very disciplined and very organized to make that happen, actually. So if I can move to the next and actually the last slide for me. Well, as I said before, the first stream is the IT delivery. I covered that. The second one is the one that actually I'm taking care of, is the internal and the market readiness for the EASIS markets. And there I would say there are 3 main building blocks. One is the EASIS Readiness Committee. Well, there, the idea behind the Readiness Committee was to make sure that there is quite an early involvement of non-IT stakeholders. On the IT side, on average, they start quite early. They are used to project methodologies, but when you talk about readiness, one of the main challenges to I would say, to gather the forces and to make sure that they are working in good collaboration. So there we decide to apply well, a project methodology, meaning planning, budget, deadlines, deliverables, and so on. Well, I'm chairing the weekly coordination meeting we have, and my background is one of IT. I'm an IT guy, but I'm chairing this forum. The second main building block is actually more related to our internal readiness. It's mainly the operational teams, and more on the technical side, the people taking care of service management, the IT service management. There, the purpose is to ensure that internally we are there and at speed when it's required. Well, I spare you all the detail. We went to gap analysis, to updating internal procedures, to organize internal training modules. So that's in motion, actually. We have the first training sessions internally, formally speaking, taking place now. Actually, next week it starts. So that all the teams would be there and available and ready as from the start of testing. Maybe useful to mention that for the T2S acceptance, we don't see it as an IT undertaking. We see it as a mixture between IT, so making sure that the whole chain is working properly. But we insisted in having the operational team working on the acceptance of T2S already as from the start. So they will be there testing, and that's why actually we have two testing environments. One will be in slow motion, more for the IT guys, and the other one will be in day for day, more for the operations. So that's again something that is requiring quite a lot of effort on our side, but we are, I think, well structured and ready to be there on time. The third building block is basically the implementation committee. There is one taking place today, by coincidence today in Brussels. There will be another one next week in Amsterdam, and the third one in Paris next week also. And there the main purpose is to support and monitor the readiness of the markets, the market players. So we started early this year, so we had a kickoff. Well, before the implementation committee, we had other workshops and debates, but formally in terms of monitoring the implementation, we started early this year. So it was in April that we had the first formal meetings of the implementation committee. And we organized it jointly with the central banks because from the user perspective, it's one exercise. It's not CSDs and NCBs, it's one together. So we managed to organize that with the three central banks jointly. Well, I was referring to deliverables, deadlines, and so on. On the top of the slide, I just showed for information the schedule, the timetable to deliver our main binding documentations to users. So it's mainly the detailed service descriptions and the data dictionaries. Some, I would say, the main ones on settlement were delivered in March. Others will be delivered in the coming weeks, so in June, and the last ones will be for December this year. We organized training sessions. Those on settlement have taken place already. And I have to say, we collect quite positive feedback. And to the extent that we are considering extending the number of sessions. So we will have new sessions later this year, just because they are fully booked for the time being. A detail, probably, but internally we have three teams mainly focusing on supporting the client readiness. One is the client rollout. So those more doing, I would say, the coordination of the communication with the users and the monitoring. I'm too slow, apparently. We have agreed that you cut me after 7 minutes.
That's how I do it.
We have a second team, which is, I'm nearly done. The second team is actually client data management, just to organize the data management of users. And the third one is client technical support, more for the technical aspect of the connections. Well, I did not put it on the slides, but we were talking about what would be the challenges. Well, I would spot two of them very practically, on top of what Alain and others have mentioned already. One is, for me, connectivity. Sometimes it's overlooked, actually, or it's seen as something that, no real challenge, but setting up the connections can be challenging because of the forms, because of the parameters to be set up, and so on. So we focus really on connectivity. One of the main agenda topics today in the implementation committee is precisely about connectivity. And I would say the second element is close to that, is the user configuration. It's there that actually the issues crystallize. When users did not think too much about what they would do when T2S is there, it crystallizes around the configuration setup. And that is something that we really need to take soon enough in order not to be stuck when we enter into the critical path of testing, actually. So that's more or less what I wanted to share. I don't know whether I can take questions or leave the floor to Andreas. Yeah.
It's a question, from Deutsche Bank. It's a question to both CSDs. Actually, there's a lot of focus in the last months that DCPs get ready for T2S. But how do you really will ensure that also your ICPs are ready by the time of the migration to your market? Because I think that is a problem, because there was not so much focus in the past, even though you both have working groups in your markets. And how do you monitor and track this? Could you please elaborate?
Well, for me, there are two answers. One is, of course, when we talk about a lot about one part, it looks like we don't talk about the other. So there is indeed quite, I mean, it's normal. The bigger institutions will be DCPs, and so they are quite active, and the governance around T2S makes that happen. So that's why there is a lot of emphasis around DCPs. They are probably more vocal in the various forums. For the ICPs, we monitor them. So, I mean, in the implementation committee, we have the DCPs, of course, but also ICPs. What we did recently, and we will probably come back later on to that, we are issuing questionnaires. We sent the first one a few weeks ago, questionnaires to each institution, not only DCPs, but also ICPs, to ask them, do you have a point of contact? Do you have a team in place? And where are you with your adaptation? So there is monitoring that is actually starting, that has started a few months ago. Well, at the same time, it did not make really a lot of sense to start monitoring 2 years ago. There is always a good time to do it, and we feel that at present, well, now, and I think it's shared by many players, it's now the right moment to start focusing on that. It's also fair to say that on average ICPs will be less impacted. Well, the situation can be different from market to market, but ICPs will probably be less impacted. So in terms of readiness, it will be probably on average less demanding for them to be ready. Again, the situation can be different from market to market.
Yes, from our side, let's at least, as I just said, we started with this single point of contact already in 2013, and therefore every customer has a contact with Clearstream in order and get all information which they needed. Nevertheless, we already have now implemented or will implement the first release in November this year, where all customers already, let's say, have to adapt to target to security connectivity channels. So this is already available from Clearstream perspective towards all Clearstream customers. And they can use already a test environment which is provided from Clearstream in addition in order to use these new connectivity channels, either on the GUI or on the A2A channels. So therefore, of course, we ensure that smoothly but steadily combined releases with BIU releases complemented with T2S requirement will be now implemented step by step until we have the migration Big Bang in 2016. Therefore, the market itself will be automatically prepared to be ready, at least to be ready for adapting to target to security. And on the other side, we have this active monitoring implemented for our relationship managers are contacting directly their assigned customers and make sure in bilateral meetings that they activate their organization readiness activity on one side, or on the other side, looking forward discussing with them and supporting them in order to identify opportunities in the T2S world, maybe to adapt or to adjust their, let's say, business models. That's currently ongoing, already implemented and in place. Yeah. So therefore, yeah, pretty much more convenient that the market, at least Clearstream participants will be ready for target to security. And this is, let's say, proved by the info sessions where we had this full automation and got always active feedback from the customers, which is more than 85% already. So that's...
Maybe one practical element that comes to my mind is, for instance, and I suspect other CSDs or an NCB possibly will do the same. We will not only be reactive, we will also be proactive into the monitoring. And for instance, one thing that we will do in the coming months will be to issue to each and every client their current configuration as we see it in our systems, and give them I would say, theoretical mapping on how it would look like in T2S if nothing changes. So that's also a way to trigger actually a reaction from the market participants. So that those are many. There will be plenty of actions like that to steer and to, foster the involvement of the whole community. And of course, that will not be only addressed to DCPs, but also to ICPs.
Thank you for the question, Britta. Perhaps I'll have a related question, but I will ask it after Andreas makes the last presentation.
Thank you, Nacho. Welcome, everybody. My name is Andreas Werchan. I'm the project manager for the Bundesbank internal adaptations to T2S, as well as for the preparations and the readiness of our German market to T2S. I would like to start my presentation with a very short recap of the roles a central bank has to play in the context of T2S. This was already covered by Alain before, so I will just focus on the two roles on the left side, which are the most important ones for the first phase of user testing starting now. So first of all, of course, it's our role as bank of banks, so as system entity within T2S, let's say at the same level as a CSD. So our banks, our NCB participants have to be captured within the system by us and have to be, let's say, supported during the testing phase. This will be more or less a manual task for us. So for this role, we will connect to the T2S platform mainly in U2A mode. So here not so much a system that we have to connect to T2S, but more or less internal processes that we have to adapt. The second role here, very important, is the role as collateral manager to support auto-collateralization within T2S. And under this role, of course, we have to connect our collateral management system to the T2S platform to deliver static data, namely eligible assets and valuation data prices to the T2S platform. So what's the starting position, the starting point for us? And I think this starting position also includes some challenges for us. So for our internal preparations, of course, we have a very complex and highly automated collateral management system in place. I mean, maybe the system is nothing compared to the systems of a CSD, but for a central bank still, it is quite a complex system. So of course, the adaptation of this system to the T2S specifications is a challenge for us, and especially the testing of our collateral management system with the various T2S test environments and the connection to each of these environments. This, of course, faces or poses kind of a challenge for us. The other position or the other starting point here is that we decided internally that we will offer auto-collateralization already as from wave 1. I think most of you know that our CSD in Germany, Clearstream, also only migrates in wave 3, but we will offer auto-call already in wave 1. So our adaptations here have to be in place and finished, ready for the start of user testing latest in wave 1. Our community, well, it is, of course, as you may imagine, quite large and quite big. So we got around 150 banks today which are directly settling cash obligations to CSDs via Target 2 today. And this user community, let's say, is quite heterogeneous. So we have a lot of banks, small, medium banks, which only participate in CBF, in Clearstream. But of course, we also have some very big and large global banks which are participating in several CSDs and of course would like to participate as from wave 1. I've not so much any concerns or see any challenges for these big DCP customers which will join T2S very soon in wave 1. Of course, the bigger challenge here is to reach really everyone and everybody coming to T2S only in wave 3 and to create awareness by all these smaller banks and bring them onto the T2S platform right in time. We set up 2 different work streams. Of course, they interact with each other, so it's not a clear distinction here, but we focus on both of them in parallel. Our internal preparations, I think the deadlines have been managed a few times today. The deadline here is the start of pilot testing in July, so already next week. And what we did so far was, of course, to write specifications, define specifications for our collateral management system, and to develop the changes within the system. We had a process to select one of the two WAN providers, and we came up with Sia Colt as our provider for the network connectivity to the T2S platform. We, of course, had to focus then on the setup of this connectivity, and I can agree to Dimitri, this is, of course, a challenge because it is quite a complex technology you have in place already internally in your IT, and then with the network provider, in addition, you will have to do a lot of work, so don't take this too easy. This might need some focus here. And of course, we did some internal training and internal test preparations, but I will come back to this later. The second work stream is the preparation of our community, which has to be finished for Wave 1 in March 2015 at the latest, or as already mentioned a few times before, actually already in January 2015 to capture all the static data. We had so far several information sessions for our market, some of them together with our CSD Clearstream. We used a quite similar concept as everyone else here to nominate single contact persons at every one of our customers to have a single point of contact to distribute informations. We also had on our side a central email contact, a central hotline for all questions that may arise on side of our customers. We did some surveys or questionnaires which were sent out to our customers. Most prominent, of course, we had a survey, a questionnaire on who would like to participate as from Wave 1, because this information, you may imagine, is quite important for us. In addition, we had, especially with the bigger customers, the DCPs, a lot of bilateral meetings to discuss, let's say, more individually their problems, their challenges, their questions. And of course, we will now start to more intensely monitor the readiness of our customers, and I can fully agree to my other panelists here that this is also a challenge to really get the information how ready is every one of your single customers. To finish my presentation, a few words on where we are today. The adaptations of our internal systems, and that is mainly our collateral management system, is nearly completed. Also, our connectivity tests to the T2S platform are nearly finished. For U2A, we have finished the tests, so our U2A connectivity to the T2S platform is in place. Our A2A connectivity tests, they are nearly finished, and we are still optimistic to finish them within this week. The test cases and the data scope for the pilot testing is, of course, fully defined. I mean, we have to start next week, so this has been done already. We will try to cover as much functionality as possible in the pilot testing, but of course we will focus on the functionality around cash and collateral, because this is our core business and this is what we will mainly test here. A bit of a challenge I see here for me personally, and maybe this might also be a challenge for the DCPs then, is everything around the access management, the access rights management within T2S, because T2S offers a quite complex access rights and roles management, and of course here a lot of work has to be done upfront to define the correct roles and access rights for your staff members. Our staff already attended the training sessions. They are very useful, very helpful for us to get prepared for user testing, and will also prepare us to offer training sessions to our customers later. Regarding our community, and here I will focus on the Wave 1 participants because they are in the focus today, or not today, but at the moment for us. So far we have 12 banks participating via the Bundesbank who have communicated their intention to participate as from Wave 1. 7 of them will become DCPs, 5 of them will become ICPs. This is meaning on the cash side, DCPs on the cash side and ICPs on the cash side. Of course, the test planning, the terms of reference, and the test cases for certification testing, which every DCP has to fulfill, are already distributed to our customers. And as soon as the authorization test cases will be finished, we of course will then distribute them as well. And also our decision to offer autocall as from wave 1 is communicated to our participants. So the ones they would like to make use of autocall, they can prepare their internal account setup for this new, or not new functionality, but for this enhanced functionality in T2S. That concludes my remarks. Of course, I'm open for questions now.
Rita?
How will you ensure that the banks that take you as of wave 1 already as their payment bank with the wave 1 or wave 2 CSDs, that the testing functions smoothly? Are there any additional requirements? How do you really ensure that the linkage will work well? Because I know that you have sent out this questionnaire that on your side everything is done, but what is with the wave 1 CSDs and the wave 2 CSDs? How will you, in your internal testing with the platform, ensure that the functions between you and, for example, ISIS and Monte Titoli and SIS will work? And how will you ensure that your ICPs and DCPs, who are also CSD participants in wave 1 or wave 2, that this really works, and are there special requirements?
Okay, let me try to cover all of your questions at once. So first of all, I think the question was how we ensure that the interaction between central banks and CSD and participants in both institutions or both entities will be ensured. I think the best way here, or the idea here, was to have this phased testing approach in T2S. So we will start now in pilot testing. This is more like a warm-up for us to get, let's say, familiar with the system. Then we will start with the bilateral testing, where we as a Bundesbank are testing alone, without any interaction with CSDs or customers. Then the multilateral interoperability testing will start, where we, together with the relevant CSDs of the wave. So now in wave 1, of course, we will mainly test with Monte Titoli. In wave 2, of course, we will have multilateral tests with Euroclear, and then in wave 3, of course, with Clearstream Banking Frankfurt. So here we can already simulate some interactions with the customers during this multilateral testing phase, not involving you as a customer, but of course we then use just, let's say, mock customers to simulate all the test cases and the functionality that it works. And then when we are coming to the community testing, of course there will be a constant interaction between the CSDs and the central banks to, let's say, align the test cases, because simple example, if you would like to have a test case with your CSD, then you need your cash account and you need liquidity on your cash account, or you need no liquidity if you want to test autocall. So of course there has to be a very, very close coordination and interaction. And this is ensured as well via the various working groups set up in the Euro system, like the UTSG. And this will also be ensured by a very close bilateral contact we will have here. There was a question on ICPs too, I guess?
Yeah, because it's, you can be a Bundesbank customer, so you said it already, there are 7 DCPs and 5 ICPs, and all of them could use wave 1 or wave 2 CSD. So I assume also that the test cases will be different depending on the CSD, which is at the other end, but these will be aligned to the most possible extent.
That's correct. Well, I'm not so much in a position to answer on the authorization test cases to be defined by the CSDs, but maybe Karla and Dimitri could add something on this. Regarding the test cases, or let's say the mandatory test cases on the cash side, but I think this will be covered then by Sylvain after the lunch break. They will be fully harmonized between the central banks. So if you're participating via several central banks, then you would only have to do the same test cases here. Regarding the test cases of the CSDs, I think I will forward the question maybe to Karla or Dimitri, because that's not so much in our...
Yeah, the test cases, let's say, anyhow, jointly working together. That's with the Bundesbank and for the Clearstream perspective, providing the set of test cases already. Let's say it's one of the in the first packages now planned to be provided to the customers, and therefore will be covered with all the authorization you needed.
Will you? I think that is more a question for you, Dimitri. Will you also make the client readiness reporting? Will you make a differentiation whether they use, for example, one of the ISAs, central banks, or any other central bank?
Well, first of all, to come back to the question, I mean, the point made by Andreas is very valid. Actually, maybe I don't know if we saw the details of that in the presentation made by Catherine, but if we look into the multilateral interoperability, what we discuss wave by wave is how do we organize it, practically speaking, because actually that big activity, is the consolidation of many bilateral test cycles. First, speaking about ISIS, we will test with the central banks, Banque de France, DNB, BNB, and then we said, well, we need to organize make sure that everything works together with the other actors of the wave 2, with the other CSDs. But also we say, well, we need to make sure that it works with the already migrated players. So there is a sequencing of objectives there and activities, testing activity in that respect. So that's very valid. And that will all translate into a setup for community testing that is covering all the migrated entities. So Bundesbank, if it's active as from wave 1, and all the entities that are busy migrating in the wave 2. Now, regarding the question of the readiness, well, of course, we will monitor. Well, to come back on the harmonization of the test case and so on, what we said already several times in DCP discussions and other discussions is that we have to see testing with. There will be a lot of activity to be performed by the users. ICP, DCP does not really matter there. The big bulk of that will be, I call it free testing. So it will be the testing that you feel is required to ensure that you can instruct in ISO 2822 properly if you are DCP, that you can, operate all the business flows if you remain ICP, and only a subset of those testing will be used either for the certification, which is something that is expected by the Eurosystem, for the DCPs, or for the authorization. The authorization is actually only a subset of those test cases that need to be completed in order to ensure that when we set up the credentials into the system, it will work. That's really, so we don't have CSDs and I suspect NCBs will not go beyond what is strictly required to secure the fact that it works in production. So it will be, in my view, only a subset of all the test cases that you will perform. And of course, in terms of setup, we will have to monitor and that's indeed one of the, if we go a level deeper, it's something that we don't see today. Today there is a very close relationship between a CSD and I would say its home NCB, if I can name it like that. And it's true that it's something that needs to be taken care of, that if indeed a number of institutions are using Bundesbank as from wave 1 and active with Euroclear as CSD in wave 2, that we monitor that. That is something to be really taken, and that's new. That is something we didn't have in the past. So that's probably one of the focus points indeed for the coming weeks and months. And it's not that easy because the question is how do we monitor? Of course, we as CSDs can ask, okay, but what are the NCBs you intend to use? NCBs could say, well, what are the CSD you are playing with? So that needs to be indeed put together. Something we have to probably dig a bit further.
Also, we can add one point. So during the multilateral testing stage, we are going to try to test the future community test. And it means when we mix several waves, in order to answer to your question, we are going to try to replicate this test during our private test.
And maybe one additional comment. I was referring to the complexity of the user configuration setup. You know that the CSDs will have to create the links between a security account and the cash accounts, and that's where we will see it.
Thank you, Britta, for this, because indeed the one point of T2S is not just that CSDs and NCBs are migrating to the same platform, but also that basically the link that existed between one CSD and NCB will no longer basically any CSD can settle with any NCB in T2S. I had a question I wanted to ask before we close the panel for lunch. It's in particular for Dimitri and for Karla, my CSD, and it's related to the one you asked before. It's basically if you were to meet in the street
that happens from time to time.
Not among yourselves, but if you meet in the street the CEO or the operations manager of an ICP and says, "Look, we have very overstretched of resources. We have all this thing to do on regulation, so all these changes also to the supervisory framework. What is the minimum adaptation that I have to do for T2S if I'm an ICP, and when in particular do I need to? When is the peak of my resource investment for doing this adaptation?" This would be the minimalistic approach, and then perhaps if there's time also we could address the maximalistic approach, which is to say, what are basically I understand with T2S there will be new services available which I don't have until now. What are these new services and how can I take advantage of them? So could you answer either from...
Okay, so for the minimalistic approach, at least from Clearstream already, it's, let's say, to have the connectivity, the GUI, and the A2A relationship connectivity to Clearstream to be adapted. And this is already, as I just said now, be implemented this year. So we already provide the customers with a minimal approach pretty much in advance to the migration of Clearstream overall in an environment which they can work. Yeah, that's the minimalistic approach. Yeah. Of course, the customers have, even this customer with a minimal approach has to conduct at least some part of Clearstream's community testing in order to prove that his adaptation of their internal infrastructure is running. And I think that's it if the customer is using the plain vanilla domestic business so far as it's currently running, is complemented with Clearstream's, let's say, investor business, which is already available. That's what they have to think about and that's what they have to adapt. Now, on the other side, if you're taking the opportunity out of a T2S environment, of course, there are not only the adaptation, the technical adaptation, but it's pretty much more thinking about your strategy and your optimization of your network towards with all the other markets, or with the core markets you want to have, where you could or maybe increase your cross-border business, which is currently in a much more smooth way, in a much more efficient way than right now. And therefore, of course, consequently, it's maybe some adjustments on your internal business models, the business model of the respective bank, or let's say, or the infrastructure has to be adapted accordingly. And if you know pretty much clear on network management area to change something, it's not an easy task. It's long, advanced preparation needed in order to change asset servicing or markets for your own infrastructure offering.
Thank you. Dimitri?
Well, but if I was to meet him well, I would tend to shake him because it's there. I mean, we talk about testing. Before testing, we need to adapt. And I would ask him. Everyone knows the sentence: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And basically, if one big player, and big player depends on how big you are yourself. I mean, everyone will find he's big actually. So I mean, as soon as you would have some players that would not be in a position to even ICP to keep on doing their business, the whole setup would be at risk. I mean, imagine that some even smaller players would say, I can't make it. I'm pretty sure we will have good discussions on that. So, well, the second thing I would ask him is who is the relationship manager on my side. I sent that guy to him. I mean, we need to be very cautious there. We need to be very well prepared. I would tend to say that if a player has not started thinking about it, it's nearly too late. I mean, it's again, the situation, we have to be cautious because there are, it depends very much on the setup of the users, and it depends on the markets. There are markets where actually the outsourcing of the settlement from the CSDs to T2S will be quasi-transparent, so we'll be very close to, I mean, just doing the business as usual. In other markets, it will be less transparent, so we have to be cautious there on the statement we make, but it's really time now that people start wondering what to do. And there is the minimal approach of saying, well, I keep doing what I was doing before, but with T2S. But I feel sometimes that some may miss opportunities. It can be on the cash side, on the security side, pooling of liquidity, things like that. It might be that some say, well, afterwards, I missed the opportunity to do better. So that's, in a nutshell, why we would have a good discussion, I think.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Karla and Dimitri. We are 5 minutes into our lunch break, so I will conclude with a short summary from my side. I hope the session has been useful, in particular from the perspective of users of CSDs and national central banks, to ask the question, assess now, do we have detailed functional descriptions from CSDs, from NCBs, to understand well how to adapt their system. It's what's good to hear in the presentations from both Karla and Dimitri that Clearstream and Euroclear have already started to provide these detailed functional descriptions, and will complete this in the course of 2014. I take the message from Corinne, and which now also Dimitri has reinstated on the importance of the preparations before the test executions. If indeed one has not started to prepare now, it's almost too late. I take the point on the that it's definitely very challenging for CSDs, as Dimitri has said, but also as Karla has said, that we have prepared for this for a very long time. It's 8 years now since we started T2S, and I was just recalling it will be altogether approximately 2.5 years between the moment in which we're delivering T2S to the CSDs and national central banks to start user testing in October this year, and the migration of the fourth wave. So basically, if we take when the CSDs receive T2S for the first time, when the fourth wave, it's altogether a rather long migration period of 2.5 years, in which, let's say, it's important also that we have a stable migration approach in which each CSD has been able to select a migration wave in which it was comfortable with. It's a challenge indeed to have multiple actors on the same highway. It's not a challenge entirely new from a Eurosystem perspective, insofar as Target 2 was precisely that. But of course, Target 2 is an RTGS, a security settlement system, is more complex. I take also some of the challenge. I think it's been very useful to hear panelists about the challenges that will be faced.